Well, hello, DCO Nation. Welcome to Deadcom Outdoors Radio. This is the show where the tide set the tone and the bite tells the story. We're diving into everything saltwater inshore kayak fishing, from lures and locations to weather, water, and winning tactics. If it helps you hook up on more fish, we're talking about it right here. So grab your paddle, check your drag, and here we go. Well, hello, DCO Nation, and welcome to Deadcom Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. My name is Chris, and I want to welcome everybody to the show this week. I'd like to invite everybody to follow me on Instagram and Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. Just search Deadcom Outdoors. We can get connected. If you guys are into the long-form videos, head over to YouTube and check that out. I dropped a flounder video a couple of weeks ago, and you guys can see how I did that day. But leave me a comment, follow, like, subscribe. You guys know all that kind of stuff. Tag me in your photos so that we can share it with everybody, and you can show everybody what you guys are doing out on the water. So today, guys, I want to talk flounder fishing. It is that time of the year. It is really starting to heat up right now, and the flounder are really moving in. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I did some flounder fishing, caught some flounder, so it was good to see them moving in. But I would like to kind of just run through the whole gamut of flounder fishing, from what they are, migration patterns, where they can be found, lures, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys stick around through the second half, the second segment, I'm going to be showing you guys my 5 favorite lures that I like to throw for flounder. So if you guys want to see these lures, you can catch the video version on Spotify and YouTube, and that will drop Thursday morning at about 8 o'clock. So if you guys can see right now on the video version, I am holding up one of the lures, which I will describe here in a little while. But so flounder, probably one of the best eating fish that you can catch. I mean, now inshore fish, redfish are awesome. You know, redfish on the half shell, if you guys know what I'm talking about there. Trout, absolutely fantastic. But one of my favorite fish to eat is flounder. The meat is just flaky white. I mean, it is great that, you know, I grill it, I bake it. It is just absolutely, I fry it. That's probably my favorite flounder sandwiches. So flounder is a very highly sought after fish when people come down or go out for a day of fishing. They are targeting flounder. So some of you listening to this may not know what a flounder looks like. So a flounder is a very flat fish. It looks like a doormat. The eyes are on top of its head. So these are a very aggressive feeders that use their camouflage to pick off their prey. So these fish will lay on the bottom, and I mean super camouflaged on the bottom. You can't even see them. The only thing sticking up is their little eyes. And as the bait fish come swimming by, they pop up, get a meal, and go right back down to the bottom. It is absolutely incredible. So using that little bit of knowledge, knowing that they are on the bottom and they are aggressive feeders, will help us target flounder when they are in season. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about when flounder migrate, when they go offshore, when they come back inshore, because this will help you kind of start your timing when you can start fishing for flounder. So if I back up to October, November, the big females will migrate offshore to spawn and do their thing. When I talk big females, when you catch a flounder that is pretty much bigger than 14 inches, those are all females. So 15, 16, 17 plus, those are all females. Those are all the big breeders. Okay. So those females go offshore and they spawn in November. They do their thing and they start to come back inshore when those water temperatures start to hit. Again, this is all rule of thumb. I'm going to say 60 to 65 degrees. And that's kind of that back end of March through April. And as I am recording this right now, it is April the 7th. So the flounder are moving back in. I'm hearing of some good catches. Again, I went out, I caught some flounder. They were not keepers. They were at that 15-inch mark. And in South Carolina, to be able to keep a flounder, they have to be 16 inches or bigger. So again, that is that April time frame when those flounders start to move back in, and you can really start to target and consistently catch some flounder. So going back to flounder being very aggressive, how they camouflage themselves to the bottom. You know, these southern flounder are dark on the top. They've got some speckles. There's a pattern to the top of them that really does a good job camouflaging them on muddy bottoms. So that's where I really like to target these fish. But let's talk about some of the structure of these flounder, where they're going to be hiding and where you guys can start to target these fish. So flounder, with them being ambush predators, and I know I'm going to beat this drum pretty hard, but this is going to, I want to just put this into your head that they are aggressive feeders. So some of the structure that I like to target, one is docks. So as the tide is moving, depending on what side the tide is on, get on that bottom end of the tide around the pilings. So as the current is breaking around that piling, those fish will sit right there in that little eddy that's created and pick off shrimp, small bait fish that is being swept around those pilings. So docks are a great place that I love to target flounder. Around oyster bars. Now, the anatomy of an oyster bar is basically it forms a big hump. And on either side of the hump, there are two deep areas that get hollowed out or eroded out by the tide. So I'll fish the two deep areas on each side of the hump, and then I'll fish around the hump where the current pulls that bait fish around those oyster bars. So if it's an oyster island, I'll fish all around the island. If the oyster bar is connected to the shoreline, then I'll fish the three sides of that island, working all the way around it. So docks and oyster bars. Next, one of my favorite areas that I never pass by, and you guys who watch my videos know this, I never pass up a creek mouth. These creek mouths are absolutely awesome. They are the highways for any type of bait that is moving in and out of these skinny creeks. And these fish, flounder, redfish, trout, they will stage at these creek mouths. So as the tide is moving in and out, again, it will erode out the creek mouth, so that mouth will be a little bit of a deeper area. Again, if you guys are watching on the video, you guys are seeing my hand. I'm making the shape of, you know, a little subtle drop off into these deeper areas, and it's because it's being eroded out by the tide. And these flounder will either sit right on the bottom or maybe kind of at the bottom of that transition from the eroded area. So Matter of fact, the last time that I was out, one of the fish came from a creek mouth, and I was working it down the little embankment, I guess is the best way that I can describe it, down to the deeper area. I could feel my lure ticking right off the bottom, working down to the bottom of that eroded area of that creek mouth. And I picked up a fish there. And matter of fact, yes, that was the biggest flounder that I caught of the day, and he was 17 and a quarter. And matter of fact, I caught him. I'm going to hold him up here right now, kind of jumping the gun here a little bit. But this is the Baller Z, and I had it on a 1/4 ounce Texas eye. And the Ballers from Z-Man, was in beer run. So I was just hopping him right on the bottom and felt the tick, set the hook, and got a really nice 17 and a 1/4 inch flounder. So docks, oyster bars, creek mouths, muddy bottoms. This is where these flounder love to sit. A muddy bottom, they are camouflaged in. They'll wiggle themselves down into the mud where they can't be seen. I don't know how many flounder I have caught over the years where when I've pulled them into the kayak, I can't hardly keep my hand on them because they're so slimy and muddy from sitting on the bottom. So they love muddy bottoms. So when you're cruising around these grass lines, muddy bottom grass line, do not pass them up because there's probably going to be a flounder sitting there. So guys, I'm going to have to break right there because we're coming up to the end of the first segment. Don't go anywhere. We're talking spring flounder fishing, and you're listening to Dead Calm Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. Well, welcome back, DCO Nation, to Dead Calm Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. In that first segment, we are talking flounder fishing, and I tell you what, there's a couple of times where, flounder are probably one of my favorite fish to target inshore. I love targeting redfish, but there is something about feeling the thump of a flounder when he hits that bait, commits to it, you set the hook, he takes off a little bit, and then it's literally like pulling up a big doormat. I mean, sometimes it's dead weight. These flounder, once you stick that net in the water, they get away from it. I don't know how many times, man, I go to net these things and I'm swinging and missing, and it's taken 2 and 3 times. I'm not a professional like some of these guys who, jam that net in the water and net it out after the first time. But I tell you what, I love catching flounder. They are super fun to catch. And I tell you what, not bad eating either. So I know you guys love to come down here and target flounder, but let's continue to talk about, some of the areas in the structure that I love to target flounder. So I've already talked about docks, around oyster bars, drop-offs at creek mouths, which is probably one of my favorite areas. Between docks and creek mouths are my 2 favorite places that if I see them, I don't pass them up. I have to make a cast around them. So let's look at maybe like some sharp points and some bends in some creeks. So these sharp points are, grass lines that, obviously form that real sharp point. And on the back end where an eddy is formed, where the current is coming around, that's where you're going to find those flounder sitting. Again, they are ambush predators laying on the bottom. So as bait is being swept around that point or that grass, it is sitting down there just waiting for that conveyor belt of food, and they are just, gorging themselves down there. So work on the backside, work your lure around with the current coming around those points, and you should be able to pick up some flounder there. So again, guys, think ambush areas. Think, if I was laying down there and I wanted to ambush some bait, where would I be? And I'm telling you, you'll start thinking like a flounder and you will pick up more fish. So let's move kind of away from the structure. We kind of know where to go. Let's move into some presentations. So a couple of presentations that I like to throw when I'm doing artificials. Now, you guys know that I am an artificial guy. Again, looking over here to my left, all of the artificials that I am gonna start showing you guys here in just a couple of minutes. But I'm also gonna go over how I like to work my live bait. And again, I'll touch on that, the presentation and the rigs. So let's talk twitch, pause. So let's look at my rod and reel first. I like a 7-foot medium fast action. I like a little bit of a backbone to my rods when I set the hook. It takes a pretty good little hook set to hook onto these flounder, because what they'll do is they'll kind of nip the back end or maybe barely be on that hook. So if you give it a second, let them work their way on top of that hook and then set the hook. I like to use a nice beefier backbone. Captain Chris Regan, who was on, I don't know, a month or so ago, he likes to use like a medium heavy rod to go on the heavier end. I like mediums, 7-foot, fast action, still got that nice little flexible tip to feel that tick of the flounder when it bites down on that lure. And another thing that is going to help you feel that bite is braided line. I use 10-pound braid. Matter of fact, I was going to grab it. I actually put it back up on my pegboard. I use a 10-pound J braid, but use whatever you like. I like 10-pound just for the casting distance. A lot of guys will use 15 or 20. I don't think you need to use anything over 20-pound test braid. Then I use a leader. I use a fluorocarbon leader. Again, nothing more than 20 pound. I don't have any reason to go any heavier than that. Flounder won't really cut you off. I've never had 20-pound fluoro been bitten through by a flounder. So, and I've also caught flounder on 12 and 15-pound fluoro. So again, guys, you can go. I don't go anything less than 12-pound or anything heavier than a 20-pound fluorocarbon for my leader. I don't think flounder are leader shy, even in clear water. I haven't seen any evidence of that. If you guys have seen it, leave me a comment. Go on to Instagram and shoot me a message and let me know your experiences if you have had flounder that are leader shy. I haven't seen it. I think they are so aggressive, and they're aggressive feeders that they really don't care. They see something come by them and they're attacking it. So we've gone over the setups, the 7-foot, medium fast, 10-pound braid with a anywhere between 12 to 20-pound fluorocarbon. Okay. Twitch, pause. I know I kind of got away from it getting into my setup here, but that's kind of where my mind is going right now. So again, that twitch, pause is exactly what it sounds like. I'll cast it out. I'll let it get to the bottom. Again, remember, flounder are on the bottom. So if your lure's not on the bottom, you're not going to get these flounder. Okay. So get it onto the bottom and then twitch it off the bottom. I'm going to take a lure right here so you guys who are watching the video, you can kind of see it. But it's going to twitch, and then it's going to sit back onto the bottom, and I'm going to pause it. Now, how long do I pause it? 3-5 seconds. Okay. It's not these real long pauses. I am not going any more than 10 seconds. Okay. 10 seconds is max. So let's just say 5 seconds just for a good rule of thumb, right in the middle of the road, a good 5 seconds. This thing is going to set, and then it's going to be twitch, twitch, pause. Again, give it that 5 seconds. Twitch, twitch, pause. Give it that 5 seconds. Okay. If they see it, they will chase it down. Okay. And that'll take me into my next technique or presentation, which is slow rolling a paddle tail. So the paddle tail I'm showing right now is a 5-inch diesel minnow from Z-Man. This is in pinfish color. And I will get this on the bottom and just slow roll this thing on the bottom. And these flounder will chase it down and they will absolutely inhale it. If you have not seen the video from John Skinner showing flounder chasing down bait on the bottom, go look it up. Go to YouTube, put in John Skinner flounder video, and it'll pop up. And he has underwater footage of these flounder, chasing down bait. So, it will, if you slow roll something on the bottom, these flounder will chase it down. So don't be afraid of that. My third technique is basically throwing out, or I'm going to get this one because this is what I like to work it on. This is the kicker crab. I'll throw it out, I'll put it on the bottom, and I will drag it on the bottom and then pause it. Drag and pause, drag and pause. And that's also how I like to work my live bait. My live bait, if I'm using a mud minnow, I will use a mud minnow on a Carolina rig with a short little Carolina rig. So maybe, 6 or 8 inches off the bottom, not very long, and just drag it across there. And they will absolutely inhale it. So those are the presentations. So guys, I've only got a couple of minutes left, but I want to hit my 5 favorite flounder lures before the show ends so I can get that out to you guys. So really in none particular order here, this is the Z-Man Ballers. It looks like a little jerk shad, and I've got it rigged on a 1/4 ounce Texas eye. One of my favorites, the last time I was out, all 3 flounder came on that rig. A shrimp rig. So this is the Z-Man Prawn Star. And then this is the 4 Horsemen Boom Boom Shrimp. Any type of a shrimp pattern is going to work absolutely fantastic. I love the Voodoo Shrimp, big believer in it. I just showed you this one, paddle tail, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, all the way up to 7-inch paddle tails on the bottom. You guys can throw, slow roll, twitch, twitch, pause. It's absolutely deadly. The kicker crab, again, on the bottom. Crabs live on the bottom. Drag, pause, drag, pause. Don't overlook the kicker crab or any type of crustacean pattern. One of my favorites, jerk shad. Guys, this one I've got rigged up on a trout eye, 1/4 ounce trout eye. Absolutely deadly with the twitch, twitch, pause presentation. So guys, I'm going to give you one more bonus one, and this is a creature bait. I rig it where the fins are upright, not horizontal, but vertical. And this actually has a 3/16 ounce Texas eye, and it just mimics a little bait fish. So guys, I know I ran through those pretty quickly, but we are coming to the end of the show. I hope you guys got some good information out. It is flounder season. Get out there, catch yourself a great flatfish, and enjoy this time of the year. And guys, remember, conservation starts with you. Release a fish for someone else to enjoy. And you've been listening to Dead Come Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network.